everyone, I am Sneha, co-founder and CEO devcompass.ai, and I am absolutely thrilled to see you guys again. This is the second video in our series of the Claude Certification Preparation course, and for those who have not watched the first video, I really urge you guys to go back to video 1 either on our YouTube channel or on the website, log into the course, and you will be able to see it. And for those who have zero context on what I am talking about, please head over to devcompass.ai and you will find all the information about the course as well as the Anthropic certificate. So let's get started. In the last video, we established that all LLMs predict the next token. Same basic principle. Now, Claude and ChatGPT are both LLMs. So at the foundation level, they are kind of doing the same thing. But if you have used both, you have probably noticed that they behave differently. In this video, I want you to be precise about why. Because those differences aren't just random stuff, and they directly affect how you build with Claude. So here we are with the next video in the series, what is Claude and how is it different from ChatGPT? Now, both Claude and ChatGPT are large language models. Both use the transformer architecture. Both are trained on massive amounts of data. At the fundamental level, they work the same way. Predict the next token, do it really well, and something like intelligence emerges. So if you understand the previous video, the foundation carries over. The difference comes from how they were trained after that initial phase. Specifically, what behavior was reinforced, what values were built in, and what the model was optimized to do well. So we'll look at a few such differences. The first difference is reasoning out loud. Claude reasons out loud. It is trained to think step by step before answering complex questions. And to be transparent about that reasoning, if you ask Claude something super complicated, it will often work through the problem in its response before arriving at an answer. This is useful for debugging, but it also means that Claude's responses can be longer and more structured than you might expect. In agentic systems, this tendency to reason explicitly is actually something that we really lean into, and we will see all of that in the stage 1 of the videos, which is the next step of the cohort, next stage of the cohort. And we will look at how Claude actually uses tools. The other major difference is instruction following. So Claude follows detailed instructions closely. It is particularly good at following detailed, structured instructions. It takes system prompts seriously. If you write a careful system prompt, Claude will generally adhere to it closely, more so than you might expect from general experience with AI tools. This is a double-edged thing. It means well-written prompts are powerful, but it also means that vague prompts produce vague behavior. We will have an entire video in stage 4 called Why Be Careful is Useless. That's entirely about this characteristic. So, we know vague prompts, vague results. Careful system prompts produces amazing results. Now, the third major difference is Claude is trained with a specific safety philosophy. Anthropic, the company that built Claude, has a particular approach to AI safety. They publish their thinking openly, and the result is a model that tends to be thoughtful about potential harms, transparent about uncertainty, and careful about refusing things it genuinely shouldn't do versus things it just needs better context on. for our purpose of building production systems so that we are able to clear the exam, this mostly shows up in Claude will sometimes ask for clarification instead of guessing. Specifically, if you mention that, hey, if the task is not clear, please ask questions, and you will be amazed to see the kind of questions it comes up with. Claude will flag uncertainty rather than confidently hallucinating on whatever it knows, and Claude responds well to context about why you are asking for something. Now, let me give you some practical implications which should be considered while you are building with Claude. First, system prompts work. Write them very carefully. Claude will follow them. We will spend significant time in stage 4 on prompt engineering precisely because the effort will pay off with Claude in a way that it doesn't always with other models. Second, Claude's verbose reasoning is a feature in agents. When Claude thinks through a tool called decision, that reasoning is often useful for debugging. Don't strip it out reflexively. Third, Claude will tell you when it's uncertain. So build a system that handles I don't know as a valid output. Don't design pipelines that assume Claude will always produce confident output. Sometimes the most correct behavior is acknowledging a gap. Third, the API gives you full control, and that's what we build with. And there is a huge difference between Claude.ai and Claude API. The Claude.ai and API are different contexts. Claude in Claude.ai is the conversational interface, but Claude API is the developer control surface. The Claude you interact with via the API is what we are going to use throughout the course. So you type Claude response, no system prompt control, no tool definitions. So it's great for exploration, drafting content, Q&A, etc. But when you're using Claude API, you have to be very careful about system prompt. You define Claude's roles. You talk about tool definitions. Claude can call your code. You specify a very structured output. You specify the format. So it gives you much more control. System prompts, tool definitions, response structure. The API Claude is the one that we will be building with. Now, one last thing before we wrap up. You will hear the term model family a lot. Right now, Anthropic has Haiku, Sonnet, and Opus. Think of all of them as small and fast, balanced, and large and capable. Each one of them have their significant properties, and each one is a better model than the next one. But obviously, different areas. For most of the production patterns in this course, you are going to work with Sonnet or Opus 4.56, depending. It is the right, so with Sonnet, I think it's the right balance of speed, cost, and capability for agentic system. Opus, you would reach for genuinely hard reasoning, very complex tasks. Haiku is for very high volume, low complexity work like content and all of that. The exam doesn't test specific model benchmarks, but it does test that you understand how to match model capability to task requirements, and we will cover that when we get to the batch processing in the next stages. So that was it for the video. We discussed quite a bit of things, same LLM foundations, yet why is Claude and ChatGPT different, what are the differences in training and values, how Claude follows precise instructions. If you give vague prompts, you get vague output, how API gives you full control of system prompts, tools, structure, and how do we kind of look at the models. Like, we did not discuss it in detail, but we will do it in the next videos. And up next, you will have a bunch of walkthroughs for this particular stage, and then I will see you in the agentic side of things in the stage 1 videos. Okay, bye.